Hello. In this video, I'd like to show you how to use the updated version of Migaku for sentence mining, aka how to make flashcards from the content that you're consuming whenever you encounter a new word that you'd like to learn. Migaku is also the tool that I personally used for making around 10,000 Anki cards, and even though there are alternative sentence mining methods out there, which you're completely welcome to use as well, I personally still find that I'm the most productive when sentence mining with Migaku. And the reason why is because the way sentence mining with Migaku works is that when you're watching a video, for example on Netflix, YouTube, Animelon, and so on, if that video includes subtitles in your target language, in my case Japanese, Migaku highlights those subtitles and lets you do dictionary lookups, and when you find a new word that you'd like to learn, you can make a card for it with literally just a single click, and that card will include the new word, the sentence it was in, the audio of that sentence, a screenshot, and much more. I actually made a video like this a few years ago on my second channel. However, that was for the previous legacy version of Migaku, which you can still use if you want, especially since it has a few features that are still in the works for the new version. But the new version does have a few advantages of its own as well, so I think it's about time to redo the entire guide. Later, I'll also be showing a few features of the Migaku mobile app, including how to make Anki cards from images using OCR, check out Migaku's own flashcard system, and very soon, you'll even be able to do actual sentence mining from videos on mobile, which is something that's going to be incredibly useful once it's fully released. So without further ado, let's get straight into the setup. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to go to the Chrome Web Store and search for Migaku. And there are going to be two results. The first one is going to be for the legacy extension, which you can find my tutorial on in the description. And then you also have the new version, which is the one that we're going to be using. So just add it to Chrome. Next, you have to click on it and log in. And it's going to instantly start installing the default dictionaries and stuff. But if you haven't used Migaku before, it's going to ask you what language you want to learn first. And now that it's done, before we do anything, I recommend going to the settings and installing a few more extra dictionaries. So these are the dictionaries that Migaku offers you by default. There are multiple dictionaries that are non-English as well, including a J2J dictionary. Of course, you don't actually have to install all of these bonus dictionaries, especially if you're a beginner, because there's a high chance that all of the things that you're going to be looking up are going to be in the default dictionary anyway. But if you find some words missing, then you might as well try adding a few extra. You can also install dictionaries from a file. For example, I just added the zip file of the Super Daijirin, and you can also reorder these dictionaries, and if you decide that you don't want a certain dictionary to be active, you can just disable them as well as delete them. Here you can choose the default tab when doing lookups, which I'll just leave the none, and you can also add extra frequency lists. There's even a YouTube one, a visual novel one, TV shows, internet, and so on. Then you also have known words, and I already have 19,000 here because they're synced from when I used to sentence mine with the legacy extension, and you can add words here just as plain text. However, if you go to the legacy extension, you can actually import known words from Anki. But if you want, you can start from scratch as well and just do nothing here. And that's actually it. You can already start sentence mining like this. So if I go to, for example, animelon.com, do some random anime, then you can already see that Migaku has added this sidebar, which displays the subtitles from the video. So I'm going to skip forward to here, just so you can see how it works a bit better. So you can see this toolbar here. If you don't, then you just need to click on this thing, and I'm going to pin the toolbar here. And you have a bunch of information here, but I recommend opening up the video settings, and here you can find the main subtitles, which is going to be these ones here, and the secondary ones, which are going to be the English ones. This of course depends on if they're available, and I like to put this show secondary subtitles either on never or on hover, meaning that it's only going to show the translation when I hover over it. Next, I also like to disable open pop-up dictionary on hover and pause on subtitle hover. There are a bunch of other options here as well, all of which you can check out by yourself, but under display options, you can also find the learning status as well as furigana support. I personally prefer having no furigana at all, so I'll just put it to none. And then you also have pitch coloring, which I like to put as always, because then it's going to make the words colorful based on their pitch accent. And then you also have keyboard shortcuts, which I really recommend reading through. For example, you can make a card just by hitting Q, and you can jump between subtitles and so on. Okay, and the final thing you need to do before you can start sentence mining is to make sure that you have allow image and audio capture for this session turned on, which you can also do with keyboard shortcuts. And this is just a permission limitation with Chrome extensions. And finally, you also have to open up this pop-up dictionary thing. And this is essentially where you can start adding data for your cards. So let's say I want to mine this word. If I hit Shift, then it's going to pop up. Alternatively, you can also click on words to look them up, which is pretty handy as well. And these things here are the frequency lists, which we installed earlier, but if you want, you can also disable them. And you have a bunch of buttons here. For example, from here, you can get some audio recordings for this word.
Yakubi.
You can also search for images, which you can also add to the card if you want to. You can also search for example sentences. You also have a tab that explains the word within this specific context. And you can select most of these things to add to the card if you want to. And there's even a word for word breakdown, which can be really useful, especially if you're a beginner. And you can also translate this sentence with ChatGPT. So it is the same subtitle over here that got translated. And you can also add this to the card. And there's also this quick button that you can send it up here, which you can also do from here. And there's even a keyboard shortcut for it. You can even use text-to-speech to read it out loud. And you also have a tab to do quick searches from other websites. So essentially, if you want to mine this word, you have two options. You can either create a card for it instantly or send it to the card creator. So it's recording the audio, and it added it to the card creator. So essentially, this is the data that we just mined, and it's going to be sent to a card if you hit create card. As you can see, the target word is the word that we mined, and the sentence is the subtitle that we mined it from. And the target word is even bolded in the sentence, which is really nice. Now, if you want to, you can even edit these fields by yourself, and you can even make stuff bolded or italics and so on. The next field is the sentence translation, which is taken from the secondary English subtitle. And then you have the definition of the target word, as well as the sentence audio that we just recorded. You also have a secondary word audio for the target word, and finally you have a screenshot. You can also add extra example sentences as well as notes, and you might have noticed that all of these fields, except for the target word, have this generate button here. And essentially you can AI generate entries to these fields. The same goes for images, word audio, sentence audio, definitions, and for example, let's say you don't have secondary English subtitles, but you still want a sentence translation. Well, you can just hit generate, and it's going to generate a translation for you. Or if you don't have an example sentence, there you go. And the word is still bolded, even here. Okay, so when we are ready to add a card, we can just hit create card. And it created it. But the thing is that the card that we just made currently was not sent to Anki, but instead it was sent to Migaku Memory, which is Migaku's own SRS. That's really well integrated with the Migaku sentence mining extension. However, you can still use Anki as well, and I'll explain how to use it in a moment. But first, let's check the card that we just made. So if you go to Migaku Memory from here, which you can also use in the mobile app, I sent the card to this deck. And this is what the front of the card looks like. So when I reveal it, you can see that it looks pretty much exactly like the data that we sent to it. And it's really nice and clean. You have the two audios here, and you can also click see translation, which is going to be the translation that we got from the English subtitle. And here's the extra sentence that we generated, as well as the notes that we auto-generated. It works pretty much exactly the same as Anki, you know. It's a new card, so I need to get it right 3 times. And a cool thing which you can do with Migaku SRS is that you can actually do lookups from within your cards, and you can actually even sentence mine your own cards. And in this corner here, you also have keyboard shortcuts and stuff like that as well. And it's up to you whether or not you want to use Migaku SRS or whether or not you prefer sticking to Anki. If you're going to be using Migaku anyway, then Migaku Memory does have its own benefits. For example, now it shows that I already have a card for this. Moreover, with Migaku Memory, you can also use the Migaku app to do sentence mining, for example, by using OCR. So if I go to the app and hit capture and create, then it's very similar to Google Lens, where you have the text highlighted and you can select it. And as you can see, the OCR got it right. And this is the word I want to mine. And in the exact same way, I can use ChatGPT and whatever here, but I can also send it to the card creator. And it works pretty much exactly the same way, except this is just using OCR and it's not true video. So I can just create a card. And now if I go to review it, here's the card. It auto-generated the audio for the sentence as well using text-to-speech. And in the future, you'll also be able to do sentence mining from videos on mobile using this app. Right now, I don't have it available for myself, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm most likely going to make a separate video on sentence mining from mobile as well. I'm not really sure if there's ever going to be a Migaku Memory to Anki converter, but at least for the time being, in the mobile app, you can only make cards for Migaku Memory. Also, right now, at the time of recording this video, the Android version of the Migaku app is multiple updates behind the iOS one, so the OCR is not going to be as accurate and there might be a few performance issues here and there as well, but it will be getting fixed, though if you're using an Android, just keep that in mind for now. But regardless, I'm personally still going to be using Anki, and now I'm going to show how to make Anki cards using Migaku. So let's mine this same sentence again. I'm going to hit 1 on this card to make it unknown again, and I'm once again going to send it to the card creator. And here you have all the data filled out, but what you have to do is you have to go to this cogwheel and select Anki. So here it now says that you are not connected to Anki, and the reason why is because you need the Migaku add-on for that. And from the add-on page, copy this code, go to add-ons, get add-ons, and paste the code over here. So restart Anki, and the Migaku Anki setup popped up. So hit next, select your language, and you can already see that it says that the browser extension is connected. So now it says that this card will be sent to Anki. However, I recommend still going through this. This search selected text in card collection is an incredibly useful shortcut, and I personally like to map it to Ctrl-Alt-C, but you should experiment to see what kind of a shortcut works best for you. And here's a little tutorial on the add-on, and you don't have to worry about this stuff. I'm just going to personally turn these off. And once you're done with that, just like it says up here, you still have to go to the Migaku toolbar and click on Map Fields. And here, you're just going to choose what deck you want to send the cards to, as well as what node type should those cards be. By default, you're going to have this Migaku Japanese node type, which came with the extension. And if you choose that one, it's going to be really simple because it's basically a one-to-one mapping with this data here. So for example, to the sentence field, you're going to be sending the sentence data from here. To the translation, you're going to be sending the sentence translation. The target word is going to be the target word from here, and so on. So it's quite simple. So for example, if I hit create card here, it filled out these fields in this window, and I can hit add. And now when I check this card, this is what it looks like. You can even hover the words for their pitch accents and so on. And this is the backside.
Yakubi.
Same thing applies here. And that's pretty much it. However, I personally prefer having very simple cards. So I made myself this node type with custom styling that I'm also going to be linking in the description. And if I mine this word again and map the fields, in this case, I'm going to be using the no syntax one. This means that there's not going to be any pitch accent syntax, which doesn't really have any benefits other than making the cards very simple. I'm going to put this image here. And now when I send the card here, it fills out the data in the same way. And this is what my custom node type looks like. It's essentially just extremely simple.
Yakubi.
And now the setup is actually completely done. So you've set up Migaku and you've set up Anki, so all there's left to do is just sentence mine. So I'll just close these windows. And even though the setup might have felt a bit complicated, in reality, the sentence mining process itself is extremely simple. So whenever I encounter a word that's being highlighted like this or has a red underline like that, it means that it's an unknown word, so I most likely haven't learned it yet. So I look it up either by clicking on it or hitting shift, and if I decide that it's a word that I want to mine, then either I can click this button here or just hit Q, after which it's going to record it and send it to Anki. And after I mine something, I usually hit 2 to mark a word as tracking. So now it has this small POV icon under it. And Migaku has 4 learning statuses that you can toggle with 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is unknown, indicated by a red underline. 2 is tracking, which is either going to be purple or orange once it gets more mature. 3 is going to be green, aka known, and 4 is going to be ignore, which is something I usually use to ignore broken words in automatically generated subtitles, for example on YouTube. Also, thanks to the Migaku Anki extension, with this shortcut that you defined here, when you select something and hit that shortcut, you can look up the selected text in the Anki browser. So as you can see, we have a card for this word. And this is also a shortcut that I use extensively. Also, you can jump between subtitles by using A, S, and D. So for example, A is going to be the previous subtitle, D is going to be the next subtitle, and S is going to replay the current subtitle. Also, if you hit W, it's going to hide the subtitles. Alternatively, you can also jump between subtitles with these timestamps over here. And another thing you can do here is select multiple subtitles at once. And you can make multiple cards at once, or combine all of those subtitles into one and make a single card out of multiple subtitles. So for example, I'm going to jump here and I'm going to select 2 of these subtitles. Well, I don't have any unknown words here, but for example, let's say I didn't know what yashiki means. So I'll mark it as unknown. Now, if I hit either create or send to the card creator from here, it combined both of those subtitles into a single card, including the audio recording. So now I'm going to show you a bunch of different clips that I recorded during sentence mining in various different scenarios. So in this first one, I just have one unknown word and I just hit Q to mine it. And after it was done, I hit 2 to start tracking that word. So if I now ever see this word in the future, I know that I've already mined it. And then I just keep on watching. Next, in this clip, I decided to mine the subtitle for a sound effect. But because there's no dialogue, I decided that I'm going to send it to the card creator first. And this is what it sounds like. And the reason I sent it to the card creator was because I wanted to move the sentence audio below the word audio. So when I review that card, it's going to play the word audio before the sound effect. And now, when I go to preview that card, as you can hear, it played the word audio before the sound effect. So in this next clip, I discovered a word that has been marked as known. However, when I looked it up on Anki with Ctrl-Alt-C, I discovered that I don't have a card for it. So what I did was that I marked it as unknown by hitting 1, and then I sentence mined it by hitting Q, after which I just hit 2 to mark it as tracking. So next, I found a subtitle like this, and even though it seems like there's no new words here and that all of these characters are separate words, and indeed, it only showed results for this kanji, however, when I looked up the next character, came out that this was actually a compound expression, so this isn't parsed as a single word. However, the dictionary still has an entry for it, so Migaku performed a compound lookup. This is equivalent to hitting Shift+C in the legacy extension. So what I did was that I scrolled down until I found a good definition and I just made a card for it. Next, in this clip, I decided to combine these 2 subtitles into one, and I also looked up the ChatGPT explanation because this one wasn't very verbose. And that actually was a lot more helpful, and I mined it from the sidebar, so I would mine both of these subtitles at once. And what I decided to do here was that I wanted the kanji version of this word. So I removed the target word and replaced it with the kanji version. I also edited the sentence to include the kanji as well, and I bolded it, and I even added a voice line for it, even though it was unnecessary. And here I found a word that I wanted to mine. However, there was also this word which I did not want to mine, but it had a red underline, meaning that if I just hit Q, it's going to mine both of those words at once. So I hit 3 to mark it as known, and now I can just hit Q and it's going to mine the word that I wanted. And I looked it up on Anki, and as you can see, it only includes the word that I wanted. So in the next clip, I actually didn't mine anything, but I wanted to show that you can auto-generate an entire card just by adding a definition to an empty card creator. So I added it, and Migaku automatically generated the entire card for me, including a picture that it found from Google Images. And you can even add more pictures if you want to. And finally, I found 2 subtitles next to each other, both of which included a new word. So what I did was that I selected both of them and I turned off combine selected so I could make 2 cards at once instead of combining both of them into a single one. So after mining them, I marked both of them as tracking and I looked at my Anki browser and indeed it created 2 cards at once. Additionally, another thing you can do is you can click on this button here and you can select, for example, recommended +1 or +2 sentences, and when you select them, you can mass export multiple cards at once, which a lot of people find very useful. So I hope that those are all the examples you need to figure out how to start sentence mining with Migaku. However, I really recommend also checking out my legacy extension tutorial because it has a few more examples, and in that video I was using YouTube. And since you can still use the legacy extension, there might be people who still prefer the legacy extension because it has a few of its own benefits as well. Okay, so when it comes to mining text, all you need to do is open the Migaku window, aka this thing, and it's going to automatically parse everything. As you can see, everything became very RGB, very gamery, and I guess we can search for a sentence that has a word that I don't know. Okay, so here's one. I think, don't I have this? Okay, I guess I don't. So as you can see, when I hover a sentence, it highlights it. This is a feature which, if you don't like, then you can go up here and display options and you can turn this off. So now it's not happening anymore. So let's say I want to mine this word within this sentence, but perhaps the sentence is too long and I don't want to mine the entire thing. So what I can do is, first of all, ignore these katakana words. Then I'm going to select this area and I'm going to hit E to send it to the card creator. And as you can see, it starts from where I selected it. However, if you turn the sentence on hover back on, what you can also do is you can, for example, click on the word, only add this definition and send it to the card creator. And now it added the entire sentence and only this minimal definition. So I can create the card and I'm going to mark it as tracking and I'm going to look it up on Anki to check what we made. And here you go. Here's the minimalistic card. The legacy extension worked a bit differently in the sense that it also took a screenshot of the page, which I personally liked, but with the new extension, you can hit generate here. Well, I'm not really sure about this one, but if you want to automatically add images, then you can scroll down here and add random dictionary media search results into the automatic prefill. So for example, if I take a better word, for example, as a fun example, let's add graphics card. Now it's going to, what is this image? But hey, it's not inaccurate, so. Ooh, wow, that is beautiful. Maybe we can get an AMD card if I keep clicking. How many clicks for an AMD card? Is this an AMD card? No, it's not. It says RTX. One more. Dude, this is definitely an AMD card. Is it? Is this an AMD card? Come on, a red card. R7, not, oh, this is the card I have, and it's underpowered. Okay, this is definitely an AMD card, and let's end the video on this. So, if you have any questions, then I recommend checking out the Migaku Discord, and if you encounter any bugs, you can do bug reports in that server as well, and there are a lot of very helpful, dedicated people who can help you out there. And if you feel like Migaku might be useful for you, then you can really support the channel by using my Reflink. And I'm going to leave you with that, so see you in some next video, which I'm not sure if it's going to be in 2025 or if I can still manage to make an extra video before that. So regardless, see you there.